Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. My name is Danielle Mitchell. I'm the CEO and founder of Black Women in Clinical Research. The mission of Black Women in Clinical Research is to educate, empower, support, and help Black women thrive in the clinical research industry. Today, we are going to be discussing breast cancer awareness and patient advocacy. We have today Mayma Carmel and Sheila Johnson, along with my co-hosts, Courtney Troxler Barnes and Endrika Thomas. So I'm going to go ahead and let my co-hosts introduce themselves. Courtney, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Courtney Troxler Barnes. I am a CRA apprentice with PPD and fairly new to the clinical research realm. I am so glad to be here, especially talking about breast cancer awareness, as it is something that is near and dear to my heart.
Thank you, Courtney, for sharing. Endrika.
Good night, ladies. Good night, everyone. My name is Endrika Thomas. I'm currently a pediatric oncology project manager in New York City, and I'm just happy to be here to speak with you ladies and learn more about the area of breast cancer. Thanks.
Thank you, Endrika. And let's see, Mayma, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Mayma Carmel. I am a 16-year Sheila. Stop it. Sheila's face. I'm a 16-year breast cancer survivor, thriver, warrior, unicorn. And I'm just blessed to be alive, I'm blessed to serve God. And when I learned I had breast cancer, I was not metastatic, but the kind of breast cancer I had was called triple negative breast cancer, for which until today, there's no targeted treatment in the early stage for Black women, for women in general. And so the average rate of recurrence and survival is about 5 to 6 years. And I'm still here 16 years later because God is using me to spread the word, to elevate his message. And I don't take for granted that the responsibility I have to serve, because many people who have treatments that are targeted don't make it. So I began Tiger Lily when in laying in bed, I was told again, your time's limited. 3-year-old daughter, my ex walked away during my treatment process. And I said, you know what, God, maybe it's time that you want my attention, right? Now you have my full attention. How can I serve you? And it's been a profound, beautiful spiritual journey. It's been tough, but when God has a purpose for you, it's never going to be easy. But you have to live in faith and trust him and serve him. And I'm honored to be able to be a servant leader in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to tell myself that I'm not going to cry today because I just get so emotional, when I hear, about Black women and how they have breast cancer. And, it's like Courtney was saying, it's near and dear to my heart because my grandmother had breast cancer. So I really feel like that was my reason for getting involved in clinical research. So thank you so much, Mayma, for sharing and, doing your awesome work.
Can I say one more thing, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
I want to dedicate this episode from my perspective to my big sister and soul sister and friend and mentor, Dr. Lori Wilson. Just so you know, I'm very emotional right this week. She is a tremendous, she's a surgical oncologist, a professor, and a survivor, warrior, metastatic thriver, and has had clinical trials, and she was NED, and she passed away suddenly on Friday. So this is my first real recorded conversation, and this work is so important. It's so important, and in this space, and I'll let Sheila talk. I'm so sorry, Sheila, but like we are doing all this work, and you think this person will be the one to be fine because they're doing all the right things. And yeah, so just want to honor her in this moment. If I start crying or I'm not myself, or I whatever, just, it's just, we're all in the breast cancer space. We're all shaken right now because the work that you're doing, Danielle, and the work Sheila does, and the work all these women, all of you are doing as Black women, is so that we don't die. And someone who had so much, passion and power and godly woman and all these things you just think is never going to happen. So I want to honor her when I speak today, and I want to honor her spirit and have her speak through me. And I'm happy to be here. But if I get emotional at any point, just it's what it is. It's a tough time.
Yes, well, our thoughts and prayers and condolences are with you. I watched
Her
your
husband
video.
and her husband and her son too. They're yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So, I mean, I definitely, want to give you the opportunity. And I know that, like you said, this is such important work. So yeah, prayers and thoughts to everyone path that she connected with and everyone's life that she has changed, and especially her close family and friends. Sheila, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sheila Marie Johnson.
First, I'm a crybaby like Mama. And it is an emotional space right now because you find out people pass away on social media and it's like, yeah. And I met Dr. Wilson, I think it was in San Antonio through Mama, and her spirit, you could just feel it. It was just so, whew, getting chills. But so I'm Sheila, and I am a 25-year Air Force veteran. I found out I had breast cancer. I had stage 4 breast cancer in 2009, December 2nd, 2009. So I have been living with metastatic breast cancer for 12 years. It'll be 13 years in December. It spread to my liver and ribs, and I always say a sneeze saved my life. Actually, God saved my life, but he saved it through a sneeze. I sneezed, and I was like, God, it burned in my whole chest, and I went to my military doctor, and I was like, something weird. I was like, every time I sneeze, it burns. Well, what happened was the breast cancer had spread to my liver and ribs. So every time I sneezed, the cancer was pressing up on my ribs. So that's when I found out I had breast cancer. I didn't know metastatic meant stage 4. I didn't know Black women got breast cancer. My mom had died of breast cancer in 2004, and that's the only Black person I knew that had breast cancer and died from it. And 5 years later, I received the diagnosis while I was in the military. So that's why I became an advocate. And, they told me, Sheila, you might be dead in 3 to 5 years, but because of women like you, I'm still here. You are so important in my life, all of you. Because I was on a clinical trial for 3.5 years and it worked. I was the only Black person for the phase 2 of a clinical trial. It's DS8201A. It's in HER2, which is now FDA approved. They got a standing ovation because now it's used in HER2 low at San Antonio at ASCO. And it's research. Because of you, I'm still here. I was on Herceptin for 8.5 years. That worked. So I just want to applaud you and thank you. Through you, God is using you to keep me and women like myself, a unicorn, as Mayman called it. I didn't know I was a unicorn till I heard it from her. And keeping me here for these years to be, an advocate and to be passionate about it. So I honor you today, and I thank you very much. And I actually met Danielle in Austin. I was like, it's a Black woman.
I know, right?
It's just like, come on, girl, give me that t-shirt. It's a Black, because it was very few of us, there. And I was there as a patient advocate for metadata. And I was just so happy to see her. And then as we connected, and it's like, man, dang, everywhere you go, I go, and everywhere I go, you go. So we cool, So I'm glad that we made that connection. But yeah, I'm still here because of women like you getting involved, and we need more Black women in clinical research. So,
We do.
yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. I was trying not to cry, but it already started. Sheila and made I was like, okay, maybe I'll cry later on towards the end, but Yes, thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much for using your voice and telling people about, your experience as well. And so just when I met Sheila, like I know she was saying when she saw me, but when I saw her and she just walked into the room and I think I was, might have been right there with Courtney. And I was like, who is that lady? I was like, I gotta meet her because she walked in the room like, hey, I'm here. So yes, I just as much as you have you have affected me as well. So please believe that the feeling is definitely mutual. And even with when I first met Maymai as well. So I'm not gonna sit here and cry because we have a lot of things to get into, but just know that it is reciprocated. And I love you ladies.
Oh,
We
thank
love you
you. Love
too.
you too.
Okay, so we already talked about the journey as a patient. So Maymar, why did you decide to become a patient advocate?
I think in life there's there's destiny, and then there's the life you choose, right? There's a path you choose. And for me, after my mom's a nurse and taught me breast exams at 13, I've always been very spiritual, and I just, God talked to me as from a young age. And I had a dream when I was 8 years old, and God told me that I would live a life of service. And I'm like, what does that mean? I was 8 years old. And then literally 6 months after I had the dream, the country I'm from broke into war, and half my father's friends were executed, like on television, like live. We had to escape Liberia, and then we're in the States. And then my dad's like, let's go back to serve people. I'm like, we almost got killed. And my dad went back and he got arrested. And so it went back and forth in Liberia. And then when we finally, the last war happened, I was 16, and my dad, my family of like 8, he only had one ticket, and the ticket the person he chose to leave was me. So pretty much sacrificing my entire family because they only had one ticket. I was the only one to leave. So I literally have had an ingrained sense of sacrifice for others, right? And if my father was going to choose me to survive, to be the one to go and take forth our family legacy, that was a big thing, right? And so 15-hour flight to America by myself, no internet, Facebook. And over that, when you're at some age like that's formative like that, and your parents, mom and dad, choose you to be the one that carries their legacy forward, and you don't know if you'll see them again, you change. So I changed over that 15-hour flight. Fast forward, I get breast cancer, find a lump at young age, push for biopsy, push for mammography, all that stuff. I get delayed, denied, dismissed, all that. So, there's some points in your life when God keeps talking to you and giving you messages, and you're like, well, I gotta do what I gotta do. I got this to do work, I got that, I got the other thing. And laying in bed after getting diagnosed and having chemotherapy, I just sat there and I thought, God's been knocking on my door for a long time, on my soul's door. Who else is going through this that may need to know that women get breast cancer at a young age? Who else is Black? Who looking for someone who looks like me? Who else could have triple negative breast cancer who doesn't know that they could use their voice? Because back in the day, there was no advocacy. There were no Black women, out there. There was no young woman. It didn't exist. And I just said, God, if I'm going to die, I want you to use me in any way possible to ensure that other women who look like me, who don't get dismissed, denied, delayed. And so I prayed to God. I got on my knees and prayed. I was so sick and I was like bald and scared. And I got on my knees and prayed, and I said, if you're God, show me yourself. Tell me overnight like what to do. And then in the morning, I got the message to begin Tiger Lily. And people ask me what it is all the time, and for me, it's a place to give women a safe space to feel loved and to feel support, to feel that they were in a haven. Because up until 3 years ago, there were not Black women and young women, people advocating at the level we are now. So it was very lonely for me. It was very scary. I had no voice. People would tell me, you're not a doctor, that you don't matter. You're just a patient. You have no money. You have no, you're not a, you don't have a nonprofit. You don't have anything. So we were not seen and heard. And I thought, I can't just let people deny me my right to live and use my voice because they think I'm not important. And so how can I create a space to ensure that women who look like me could see me and go that if she's possible, so am I. And that's when I began Tiger Lily. Had no idea that I would be where I am today. But there's a beautiful thing when God holds his hand out to you and you say yes, and you begin to serve. And now we're 16 years out, educating women of color, advocating for them, giving them a safe space to love and to love each other and to have community and support and doing policy and giving them wraparound services. And really the beautiful thing for me is seeing that there are women who are now on top of my shoulders doing other things, right? You want to make sure that whatever you do, the next generation of coming beside you is going to be better and strong, and you're coming together as an army. And now that there's so many Black women now sharing their stories, using their voices, and they can't deny that we exist, right? Because we're possible and we're showing up. And so, yeah, that's when I began my journey, and happy to be alive today.
Thank you,
And
Mayma.
paying it forward. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's so important for us to lift one another up. A lot of times, breast cancer is not discussed. I know for me, my family, we didn't talk about it. No one talked about it until my grandmother, lost her battle with breast cancer. So now then all of my aunts started coming forward and saying, oh yeah, I found a lump. And, another aunt, oh, I found a lump. So it definitely is a conversation that we need to have more with people in our community. So thank you so much for sharing. Sheila, what made you decide to become a patient advocate?
My breast surgeon, for some reason, she took an interest in me. And she sent me this flyer, and it was for a symposium in St. Louis. And she said, Sheila, I think you would make a great fit for the symposium. So I went to the symposium because when I was diagnosed, I didn't know there were breast cancer support groups. I didn't, you see the commercials. You didn't see Black women on commercials back 12 years ago. So I felt like I was in a world by myself. For 9 months, I didn't tell nobody really. And I just thought, man, something is not right. And so I went to the symposium, and that's when I found out about Living Beyond Breast Cancer and the different organization. And I'm like, there are so many resources out here for women that aren't getting to the Black community. So my genetic counselor, because I had genetic testing done, which I didn't know about, and they paid for me to go to Seattle to a Living Beyond Breast Cancer / it was Young Survival Coalition conference when they were doing conferences together. And I went, and when I went in, I was like, there's no Black women here. Like, do Black women get stage 4 breast cancer? Or do Black women get breast cancer? I said, so we're doing something wrong. So that's when I started doing my advocacy. I started, telling Black women, like, we got to be there. We got to be present. We got to let people know that we exist, that we get breast cancer too. And that's began my advocacy. I reviewed for the Department of Defense Breast Cancer Research Program. We used to go to DC. Since COVID, we do it through the Zoom. But we used to go to DC. It's like 12 or 13 other researchers. And it's like 4 advocates. And we sitting there and we debate on which grants that we think are best. But that's where we need to be. We need to be making these changes. And at first when I went in, I was intimidated because I'm like, they're not going to listen to me. But a Black woman came up to me, and it was some drug. I can't remember because, I can't say which one it is anyway. And I'm like, no, why are you going to get us to a patient? And it's too toxic. That patient the quality of life, like, you can't do that to a patient. So the Black doctor came out and she said, Sheila, I changed my score because of you, because I never thought about that. So that's when I knew that I was making a difference. I always say that what the devil meant for bad, God turned it into something good. Never once did I believe that I was going to die in 3 to 5 years. And I just said, God, use me the way that you see fit. And that's what I do. I just, advocate, all the time. And I said, my table is built. You know, I'm tired of you gonna invite me to this. No, I built my table. I worked hard to be there. You know, so no, don't tell me you invite me or whatever. Hey, you come to my table. You know, so, you know, that's why, because I felt that the Black community needed me, you know, so.
Yes, we absolutely do need you. And, it is amazing when you can build your own table. And like you said, have people, come and meet you at your own terms and listen to me that this is affecting Black women. And we need it from a different perspective than what we have been following before. So another question that I have is, as a patient advocate, what are some of the needs you are frequently asked to address?
I think the big thing now is diversity and inclusion. It should have been years ago. But now, you know, it's people want to be, these organizations out here want more Black women, want more Black men, want more LGBT, Asian. They all, you know, I guess they finally recognize that, you know, we need to be more diverse, you know. And I'm glad it took a while, but I'm glad that we're here and we still have a long way to go. So, you know, I'm invited to a lot of stuff, but some stuff, God was like, nope, that's not for you. Leave it alone.
I
And
think that it's
ahead.
so important that during that, Sheila, but I think that a lot of it's performative. I think that if we were able to create, 2 or 3 different COVID-19 vaccines because people who were white were affected, God forgive me, how in the hell can we not figure out how to target Black women dying from breast cancer at a twice the rate than women who are white, right? So I think that I'm thankful that these things were happening, but it took people seeing a Black man strangled at the knee of a white police officer to take racism seriously. That bothers me. Why do you have to wait till someone is freaking strangled to death on national social media to realize racism affects us in, school system, in the streets, in the healthcare system, in science and research? And the flip side is that it's given us a place to use our voice to say that, because people I couldn't say this out loud before. You were like, you have to be, be kind of, be like not too disruptive because you couldn't be angry Black woman. But at the same time, we still haven't seen, for me, I've seen a lot of sponsors investing. It's been wonderful seeing the investment in Black women, the investment in diversity and inclusion, the investment in people committing to solidarity. But what are the things that we can do that and push people to do that could ensure that we're not dying at twice the rate? What are the ways they're removing barriers for us to be able to have inclusion in clinical trials? How can sponsors say that I'm going to make this goal, this diversity goal, not arbitrary, not I'll try to do it, but I'm going to make sure I have this number of Black women in my trial, this number of Black investigators, this number of community sites stood up. So those things are things that are systemic things that, it's one thing to say, like, I stand with you guys, I love y'all, I have Black friends, but the problems we're being plagued with are more than just a press release or a LinkedIn blog or hiring a Black DEI person. And so for me, my role is to do, like, my background is, I used to run large programs and help huge companies win, like the Fortune 500 companies win government contracts. So I understand how they work and I understand how to build them. And so for me, it's like taking a grassroots approach to force multiplying Black women to have more of us trained, educated, speaking up, diverse voices. But it's also important to ensure that the systems that people have built to where there's a ceiling for us, right? You can't tell me that you build a system, you're going to dismantle it to make us feel comfortable. It has to be disrupted, right? That means we got to have a clean slate. So part of my work is to empower Black women to be disruptive, use their voices, and of course, bring God and bring empowerment into that. But you can't be the one to build a system that doesn't work for me and tell me you're going to fix it for me without me leading the effort. So my job's been to bring Black voices to clinical trials, to ensure the CROs are doing the right thing, to ensure that community sites have the right people and number of staff and they're trained, to ensure that as they're building clinical trials, that our voices are a part of the process. Not as I'll try to make this happen, but I'm going to ensure that you're designing the picking the sites, you're, working on the ICF forms, protocol design, the campaigns, and that you're coming back to me to say, here's the metrics of how this trial was executed in a way that's diverse. And so, there's so much happening right now. I'm on calls all day, every day, and I love it. But I want to see more specific. I want to see more SMART goals attached to these plans. So it's not just like a FDA guidance. It's like if you don't do this thing, you can't get your drug on the market. You have to get this done. If you don't invest in our communities, you can't just come and put a site down to recruit Black people and get what you want. How do you leave this site better than when you found it, right? So there's all these things that have to happen to make sure that we're successful and we have equity. And so a lot of what I do is to educate patients, challenge all stakeholders to be better at equality in general and humanity, empower people to use their voices, and then keep working to advocate for change.
And a lot of times I see when I'm reading grants, they're specifically for Black women, but some of the grants, when they're written women of color. So are you talking Black women or are you talking women of color? And your grant is probably not going to get approved because it's too broad. So we have to remember that if we are applying for these grants, who are you talking about? Are you targeting Black women or are you targeting women of color? And specifically, I know, like I said, when I was reading them, and one of the doctors on it was like, well, we don't know who they're saying women of color. That's too broad, So when you're writing grants, make sure that you know what that grant specifically says,
People don't understand breast cancer, though. They say when you ask anybody, ask like 10 people on the street right now, we're giving money for breast cancer research. Well, where is it going to? What's the research mean? Who's the PI? What's the targeted intervention? What kind of molecule are they looking? Like people have no idea. Is it going to women of color, Black women, triple negative, ER, what people have no idea there are more than one kind of breast cancer. And when you look at technology and digital technology, when you look on your social media, look at your Instagram right now, they're targeting us with ads about hair, wigs, weaves, waist trainers, things that don't save our lives. So how do you help people to understand that when Black women understand that you're at risk, we're dying at twice the rate of white women. And so when you're giving money to research, what kind of money are you giving it to whom? What kind of research? Is it targeting triple negative? It's targeting HER2? And, so ask a question of like, where's the money going to? What's the institution that it's going towards? How much is going towards staff versus the actual research? And what is going to be the outcome for Black women? And so a lot of the work that we do at Tiger Lily, educating Black women through the Angel program, is helping us to think about things critically, because no one taught me this stuff, Danielle. No one taught me all this. I had to learn like what about that? What? Are you kidding me? And so it's important to ask these questions because we're just kind of told, like, we're marketed to, support the pink ribbon, do the walks and the runs. But how much money from those walks and runs are going to help people like me and Sheila stay alive, right? How is it possible that today in 2022 that there's no treatment targeting early stage breast cancer patients who have TNBC? I mean, how is that possible? And so we have to hold people's feet to the fire. We can't just say we're gonna, wave a pink flag. And clinical trials are something that the system is not working to our advantage. So how do we ensure that we're shaking things up and we're getting represented in how the trials are designed? Not just giving our input, but by ensuring the process by which we roll trials out, like the FDA guidance. People have to follow the guidance, but do more than just follow guidance, but challenge how they're implementing the guidance. And so that's a lot of what my work is, like saying, yeah, that's nice, but we can do more. We have to do more.
Right. We have to do better.
Yeah.
So I am going to hand it off to Andrika.
Hey, ladies. So in terms of breast cancer, I know Danielle mentioned earlier that, sometimes it's not spoken about in our community until someone's actually diagnosed with it. And so how would you advise a newly diagnosed woman or Black woman, because we're speaking about us today, to advocate for herself? Either one you can answer.
Well, I think in the beginning, it's kind of hard to even know how to advocate for yourself. For me, it was just, probably for many patients, it was just the world of the unknown. Like when they said a copay, I was like, what's a copay? Like for 25 years, the military took care of me and I never had to pay a copay. I'm like, okay. Or paying for a prescription, you know, but as far as, I don't know, I just believed in my doctor, but tell you, if something doesn't feel right or you're not getting the answers, um, you know, advocate for you could get a second opinion. But I just think I didn't know how, when I first started out, how to advocate for myself, because I had no idea about breast cancer, that I was HER2 positive, ER/PR positive, that I had to get a port and they had to take my ovaries, and I had, they told me I couldn't get a mastectomy, but then they met the tumor board. What's the tumor board? I went through the tumor board. They said they're gonna give me a mastectomy. I'm glad I did. And then I had reconstruction. From reconstruction, I got a staph infection, you know, everything was just happening. And, you know, from the beginning, I really didn't, but I learned how to. And I just think that's why I say in hospitals, we need to have patient advocates assigned to each patient. So
Yeah.
if you do have a question, you know, somebody who's been through what you've been through that can hold your hand through the process. And I'm trying to do that at the VA here in St. Louis, and I'm trying to do it at Simon Cancer Center in St. Louis. So to make sure that and even on base here at Scott Air Force Base, because when they told me I had breast cancer, they was like, okay, you have breast cancer. Okay, that's it. We can't do nothing else. So they sent me down to this huge, big civilian Simon Cancer Center. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to navigate this? You know, and I really had to navigate it for myself. So I don't, it's just hard. And you just have to learn as you go, and there's no right or wrong answer. So, but if you feel something is off, you know, as my mom would say, something is off, and seek a second opinion.
Yeah, Sheila's totally right. I mean, we don't get a PhD in cancer or an MD or, you know, a bachelor's. Like my friend Julia Maues always says, the doctor is the specialist in treating cancer, and we're the specialists in living with the disease, right? But what that means is that they get education through schooling. We get education through experience, and not even asked to be experienced. It happens. They have the leisure of, not the leisure, the medical school is hard, but they have the time to figure out what they know. We find a tumor, or we find a lump or a discharge or whatever. Then we hear the words, you have breast cancer, then that's it. You have to learn, you have to figure out how to live in less than 3 weeks and make these gargantuan decisions about your life in weeks, because whatever you do, whatever your doctor says, you have to say yes or no to it. And it's a lot of pressure. Whatever you say, whatever you pick, whoever your doctor is, your healthcare team, treatment journey, testing you do or don't ask for, a screening or diagnostics, whatever happens that you would say yes or no to can cause you to live or die. And it's not your responsibility because it's not your expertise, but it's what it is, right? And the pressure is freaking incredible. It's so much pressure. I felt like I was in a pot when when you put a pot in the lid and it's like boiling, and you like, but you have to figure out, you have to stay calm, because you have to be like aware of like, okay, do I choose this or that or that? And you know what I tell women? There's a gift that we're born with that's so powerful that we turn off. It's called our intuition. It's called our gut. It's called our Jesus. It's God, right? Because there's no reason that I would have thought to go see my doctor and say this lump is bothering me, and have her tell me, yeah, well, insurance won't cover it. Don't worry about it. But if you want to, we can get it, screened, pay for a mammogram, get the result back where it's clean. And they say, oh, you're fine. You're good. I should be like celebratory, right? It's clean. And then I'm like, well, yeah, but I still feel a lump. You can't see it, but I can feel it. I think the test is wrong. The screening's wrong. The test, it's diagnosis is wrong. Can I see a breast surgeon? Well, why? You're underage, you're 31 years old. Mammogram came back clean. Why do you want to see a surgeon? I want it out. Well, we can't pay for that, whatever. Well, I still want it. And so I think that, and I finally pushed so it took almost a year between finding the lump and getting diagnosed. But my point is that the gift that God gave us is our intuition. And I don't care what doctor or what test or what guidelines say, You know your body better than anybody else. You've lived in your body in that house your entire life. And so one of the things that we really focus on to tackle is spirituality. It's that, we're a spirit born into a body that is the house for our spirit, and we have divine guidance. Never ignore your divine guidance. Don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong. And so for me, advocacy is helping women to understand, trust your body, trust your soul, trust your voice. If you're not comfortable, don't take no for an answer. You're the CEO of your health. You have the right to fire it and hire accordingly. Keep asking until you're comfortable. And, we all have a privilege that we are breathing. And once you're breathing, to me, advocacy means that I have to help my sisters, right? When I first got, when I began tackle, people weren't funding Black women in breast cancer advocacy. I had no money. I had to work sometimes 8 jobs a year to get money. The first money I got was for San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium in 2019. And I took the money and I brought 20 women to San Antonio Breast. And people were like, well, this is your first money you're getting. I'm like, well, it's not for me, it's to help my sisters, right? And so advocacy is, also going back into the fire and pulling those out who are coming behind you, so it's so many things. But for me, it's the one thing I can think of that's encapsulate what I'm saying is that advocacy is service. And because of what we serve other people and make that our voices heard, others say, you know what, I see a Sheila, I see a Mema, I see this is possible, I can do that, I can do more. Then you have diversity of ideas, of creativity, of warriors. And that's how you force multiply and create change. And that's what, to me, it means. It means challenging policies and systems and challenging and kind of saying like, can I suspend judgment for a moment on what I think is right and true? And what if this way we're doing things is not working? What if it's not right? How can we change that? And doing that with love as well. And so, it's not easy, but to Sheila's point, I wasn't like this all the time. I'm actually quite shy. I'm painfully shy. And I like to I'm a total bookworm, but I was like, I can't just sit here and be quiet. People are dying. I got to do something about it. And I began to ask questions. So just ask the freaking question. Just ask the question and ask the next question. Say, what about this? What about that? What if that were possible? What would happen? And then next thing you know, you're using your voice on a platform and you're like looking back in the 16 years, you're like, what? And always paid forward. To me, it's like, the privilege we get is to live. And that privilege means that we have the responsibility to give back and pay it forward to other people, because people's lives depend on us using our voices and us showing up for each other and challenging the status quo.
Absolutely, ladies. Thank you for reaching your hand back down and pulling the other sisters up, because we need you guys. We absolutely need you guys. So in general, in the media over the years, we see all of the changes in the healthcare system, new technology for diagnosing and treatments. What changes have you witnessed in the area of breast cancer, specifically for Black women or not, Sheila, you can go.
The changes I've seen since being diagnosed 12 years ago, that there are more Black advocates. Treatments are getting better, like the one that I'm on now in HER2. And just overall, just being included as a Black woman, making my voice heard and count. As far as technology, there are so many things that are I'm actually proud of where we're going, in breast cancer research and treatments, and because we come a long way. Like I said, we still have a long way to go. But for me, it's just being out there in the forefront. I get calls all the time. Well, I want to try, I'm going on a clinical trial, what was your experience? I run actually in HER2 Facebook group, and the ladies are so scared about this clinical trial. And it's just like, this is research. This is top-notch research that we need, And I've always, my thing, I have cancer, so it's not about Sheila. It's about who I've helped. And now into HER2 is used in many other different cancers, like stomach cancers, So my goal was to leave my legacy, you know. And I had even asked my doctor one day, this might sound kind of morbid, but I asked my doctor, I said, well, if something should happen to me, and God just say, come on home, Sheila. I said, well, can I donate my body to research? She said, well, nobody's ever asked me that. And she said, I don't want to talk about that. And I said, no, I'm just asking a question. I ain't going nowhere right now, I hope. And she said, no, what? But she told me what to do. And I was like, yeah, I would want my body donated because I want Black women, I want you to research me to understand why I've lived 12 years or 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years with this disease. And she was like, oh, nobody ever asked me that. So, yeah, we've come a long way, and there's so many organizations out here. There's more money being raised now because of advocates for research. You know, metastatic breast cancer is the only breast cancer that kills. So of course we want to live longer, but we want medicines that I don't have to worry about pooping on myself in the mall. And see, people, you know, people don't think about stuff like that, but I always have to know where a bathroom is, wherever I go. And sometimes I'm scared to even go out of the house because I don't know what's going to happen because it is medicine, or whether I'm going to puke all over myself. So it's technology and treatments, they're coming along. And when I seen ASCO, when I was at ASCO, and Destiny Breast 04 got a standing ovation, that is outstanding because it's going to help so many women.
Yeah, the question was again, what have we seen of chemo brain like 16 years later? I mean, I feel it's surreal, right? To see the number of investments in Black women and Black organizations, the number of people focusing on TNBC, which we tend to die of more, you know, at faster rates. The conversations, the inclusion, you know, the power that we can now wield to transform every aspect of clinical research, drug development, delivery, advocacy. It's just, you know, I think back to when I was laying in bed, looking at the ceiling and like looking at the little patterns, like thinking, what if this were possible? And seeing all these things now. And I tell people advocates to imagine the impossible, because, you know, we didn't all exist 16 years ago. We were thinking, thinking, well, I'm a little young Black girl, I can't do whatever. Then you present it with this disease and these challenges, and you have to say, you know what, the challenge, I'm going to roar in your face. I'm going to stand up to you and do better and use this challenge as a catalyst for change. And I love seeing advocates, meeting people like Sheila, who are my friends now, sisters. And to her point, you know, like I had triple negative breast cancer, no targeted treatment. I'm still here. And I'm thankful. I'm so thankful, but it's scary living in a body where you're an outlier, right? Where a lot of your friends who have more medicines are dying all the time. And you're like, okay, I have pictures of myself where there are like 5 people around me and then 4 are gone, versus like 1, then there's 2, then there's 3. And there's more people that are in my phone that are dead than alive sometimes, that are my survivors and patient friends, right? And so my work is, you know, some of my friends ask me, why do you have a call till 9 o'clock at nighttime? Why are you working till 11 o'clock? People are dying, and unless we use our breath and our heartbeats to make a difference in the world for Black women, that won't change. And, you know, Lori said, Dr. Wilson would always say when she heard people talking about Black women, they're always saying that we're going to die, we're going to die, we're going to die. But we are living because we're getting involved in clinical trials. We're living because we're challenging how we deliver people with innovation in clinical trials and engaged Black women. We're challenging the protocol development design. We're getting involved in every aspect. And the work that you're doing, Danielle, as a researcher and with BWICR, we need to be involved in every single aspect. We need to teach, girls are being taught, you know, sex ed in high school. Why aren't they being taught about the importance of breast examinations in clinical trials? You know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But if we only died in October, it would be bad, but still we're dying every single day. So how do we ensure that we're not just 1 month a year, and that we're not telling girls, you know, here's how to change a baby's diaper in high school and have sex? but how to live, because you know how to, know your body, you understand clinical research, you understand the importance of diversity in healthcare in your life. So I love this work, and I'm seeing things change. And as they change, I always think like you're peeling an onion. As you peel the onion, what's next? My daughter, who's now 19 years old, can talk to you about whatever we just said. She can tell you this in 10 minutes because she grew up watching me on the floor under my desk, discussing this as a patient advocate. So it can't be that we wait till we're chronically ill to ask for, oh, what happened? What do I do now? Why didn't they ask me? Why don't we ask the question ourselves? So my job is don't wait till they ask me to be included. As Sheila said, build your own damn table. Teach your girls how to live, eyelashes, eyebrows, waist trainer, this all. But how do we survive life? Well, not just breast cancer, but cancer in general and health in general. So it's important to integrate wellness into our lifestyle. We take in a shower, we brush our teeth, we change our car oil. But how do we take care of our bodies, the inside of our bodies, as well as we're grooming ourselves? And that's the important thing to teach women, and especially Black women who are dying at these higher rates. So there's a lot of change, but for me, once I peel the onion, I see a layer. I gotta go there. I gotta go deeper. So I think I won't rest until I'm not on this earth anymore. When I'm not here anymore, I'll be like flying around saying, hey girl, try that. Hey, do this. Hey, what about that? And I just think there's a lot to be done. But most of all, is if you love deeply and God put you on this earth, it's not for me, it's not work, it's a love journey, right? You love your sister. How do you help her live and have a healthy, happy, joyful experience while she's here in her body? And for me, I'll say one last thing for now. There's a quote I love by Miriam Wright Edelman. It says, service is the rent we pay for living. So if you're living, how do you serve other people? Because you're breathing, your heart's beating. And that's what drives me every day. And my daughter and God.
I love how you ended with that quote, especially about service. And so when we're talking about service and patient advocacy from a patient's standpoint, what does patient advocacy actually mean? And what does it mean to be a patient advocate?
Patient advocacy is rough. You see your friends die. I had two very good friends that died within 2 months apart in 2016. My mom died from it, but there are also happy times. I don't know if you know Jersey Baker, and she said something in San Antonio. She said, I don't want to take any more pictures, because she said every time I take a picture, that person dies. But, it's hard. Not only from, oftentimes I'm asked, but do you have survivor's guilt? And I tell people no, because I'm motivated. Like I gotta do something. Like we gotta stop. I'm tired of I've been hearing 42% of Black women dying for 12 years. When are these statistics going to change? But if we all get on one accord, we're all making a difference, and it's a passion for me. And I told myself, if I ever feel like it's work, I'm gonna stop. And it hasn't felt like it's work, because I can say, well, I don't want to do this or whatever. But it's just a passion that's in me, and it's a part of how I'm surviving. I'm not one to take gifts. I'm one to give gifts. And when somebody gives me a gift, I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. But then I was told, well, that person's blessing, So it's always been in me, especially in the military, I've always had to be a protector. Even when I was diagnosed, I wasn't worried about me. I was worried about everybody else's reaction around me. So I literally had to take care of everybody else around me, before I took care of myself, because it's like they over here crying and I'm over here looking like, what y'all crying for? But, advocacy is a passion. It has its ups and it has its downs. But I'm glad that God put me here to give me a platform. to be able to be
I'm,
an advocate.
I'm glad too, Sheila. You are a gift to us. And I know when I first met you, I knew that you're like, like you were saying about Dr. Lori, is like your energy just eluded gift.
Oh,
And
thank you.
so, yeah, I needed to be in connection with you. But Mayma, if you don't mind, I want to end with this question. Maybe you can help kind of guide us all who might not have any personal experience with breast cancer, as far as being a patient or knowing someone who was a patient. How can those of us who aren't in advocacy roles or, experiencing dealing with breast cancer within our immediate circle, how can we help with breast cancer patient advocacy for our community specifically?
Well, how much time do I have? I think I have like less than a minute, but I always talk about the power of one. I think we underestimate the power we have to make a difference. And when we engage new advocates, people come in going, well, I can't, I don't know how to advocate. I don't know how to speak in public. I don't know. And it's like, I didn't know either. I didn't know any of this stuff. I was like a newborn in this space. But we each come into this world with a gift, right? God put each of us here with a unique gift in us, a unique seed that we have to water and have it bear fruit. And so ask yourself, what fruit can you water what seed can you water in yourself that can grow? Is your gift PR? Is it marketing? Is it speaking? Is it writing? And use that to make a difference, right? Some people would say, well, I met people who will volunteer and then not follow through sometimes. And then when their daughter or sister is sick, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know. So like, don't wait till it happens to you to make a difference about this thing. This is affecting all of us, and we're all sisters. We're all one body. And so, as Black women, we're dying as twice as much as white women. We can't sit around to be asking, who's going to make this better for us? If not us, then who? If not now, then when? And so, you don't have to have money or resources or a big nonprofit, but you're breathing. That is a privilege to breathe, to have your heartbeat. And if you have that privilege, what can you do to make sure that we as Black women can advance these statistics to make them not advance, but I'm sorry, that's the wrong word, but how can we eradicate these numbers of 40% to 30 and 20 and 10? If you do one thing, if you support what Sheila's doing or what another org's doing, or, just do something to make a difference. And in closing, I'll say that before I had breast cancer, I would walk and do the runs, whatever, and I go home. And I would say, okay, I did this amazing walk. I'm so inspired, and it would be done, right? It wasn't my job. But now this is my job, because I left my job, my work to begin this nonprofit work that's now become my living legacy. But I wish I hadn't waited till it touched my life to start. And so I tell other women, don't wait till it happens to you to start caring about it. Dr. King said, what affects one affects the other. I cannot be who I ought to be if you are not who you ought to be. That is the interrelation of reality. So if it affects my sister, it affects me, and I have to make a difference. And use your difference to make a difference. That's my message to you all, to just use your difference, your unique gift, to change how we as women of color, Black women, not women of color, Black women, are living longer lives. And how do we ensure that the numbers dwindle and we live, survive, thrive, and can live our best and joyful lives, while we're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I know this conversation has been very inspiring for me, because I am currently in an advocacy position with my mother. If it weren't for me coming back into this area, I'm not quite sure what my mother would have been able to do, because she has recently been diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. So, and with today being her 65th birthday,
Happy birthday.
I've been trying to hold my tears in the whole time. So I just thank you ladies for the work that you're doing for patients, not just like yourself, but like my mother. Because if it wasn't for you all and those who have walked alongside of you, I don't know where she would be right now. So I appreciate
God
your
bless
work.
you. God bless your mom.
God bless your mom.
Yeah, God bless your mom. And can we all have Sheila's travel agency as well? So one thing we didn't talk about was how when you get, before I got diagnosed, I was just like, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do it later. And then when you get in this space, you're like, what? I can't wait till tomorrow. And Sheila is, I mean, I live my life. Sheila's on different, she's like living her life, you know, and we both have had losses the past year. I think, you know, a lot happened, but it's like so many, not even just the past year, it's multiple losses, family and friends. But like your mom, I'm sure she's like, you want to live your life. You have to live your life today. You can be crying and be like, hello, like, you know, selfie time, because duality can't exist. You can be like, you know, doing your work and you have losses, but then you have this blessing of life, right? That you have to live while you're here. And Sheila's a prime example of that. Her social media is off the chain. She's always going someplace, doing something. She's like, I'm fabulous. You have to embrace your life. And so like, you know, it's so much going on, you know, and so many things happening, and we're doing this work. It's so important, but we can't forget to live, love, learn, and lean into each other, lean into our sisters, you know? So like life is nothing without love, without service to others. And it's nothing without, if we don't live life, then we're not really doing what we're meant to be doing. That means expressing our true self, our soul self in every aspect of our work. So, you know, this is intense work, but for all you who are watching, you know, you got to have fun. You got to embrace the moment too, right? And the pain and the pleasure of it is just, it's life. It's our one shot here. And you have to live your legacy, you know, live your legacy right now. And not when you're gone, but in this moment.
Well, ladies, I have cried quite a few times.
Oh,
I'm over here
sorry,
like,
made you cry.
I'm over here trying to, it's just the message is just so powerful and so inspirational. A lot of times, you know, we don't always help one another. And like you said, service. I feel like my mom has always taught me, you know, how can you help other people? And, you know, that's what's been instilled in me. And it seems like the stories are similar to showing up and being the only Black person in the room, you know, and wanting to see more of us included and in the room, and just making a space for us to have that area where we can help one another and tell people, hey, this is what's going on in the community. And that, you know, patients need to be involved in the clinical trial process, in the design of the protocol. Everything needs to, the patient's point of view and perspective needs to be included in all areas of clinical trials and clinical research. And so, you know, thank you, ladies, for being there and being patient advocates, and being a resource for Black women, so that we can, you know, reach out to you ladies and see what we can do. Because I know for me, I want to get more involved and see how I can help, and to use my platform to, you know, to help and see how we can come together. And yes, Sheila has a book. I probably, when I saw it, I was like, let me buy it. Yeah, so it is definitely amazing work what you ladies are doing. And I thank you. And I know I speak for, you know, everyone that is in
Thank
this
you.
meeting. Thank you. You know, I know it's not easy to, you know, show up in these spaces and to be there. So we appreciate you. So I know we're a little bit over time, but I just wanted to see if anyone had, we can probably take maybe a couple of questions or a few questions. So if anyone wants to ask a question, please come off mute. Or ask a question in the chat.
Maybe they're shy.
I think so. Okay, since no one's asking questions, I'll do this. So what are the next conferences that you guys are attending? If someone wanted to meet Sheila or meet Maymai, what conference could we attend to?
What are the ones we're not attending?
Right. I
Yeah.
think for
Go
me,
ahead,
San
Sheila.
Antonio, probably San Antonio. The San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when,
So we're having
It's the first week of December.
December 6th to 10th. Yeah.
okay.
So I'll be there for that entire week. And then we're having an event in DC called Pajama Glam Party that my daughter designed when she was 6 years old to engage families in discuss. Well, she was like, Mommy, I come to all your events. I understand breast cancer, but she had no teeth. But my friends don't understand breast cancer. I'm like, what should we do? What should come? Why don't we do a PJ party? I'm like, we'll come to an event in pajamas. She's like, people will come. You have your thing and people come to it. So we had a PJ party event and it was like 300 people came. It was off the chain. And it was cool because it was moms with their daughters and their moms. So it was like grandmother, mother, and mother. I was like, she's onto something here. So we have it every year. We stopped for a while with COVID and all that, but people come with their moms and daughters, and it's like mother, daughter, grandmother, sometimes dads in pajamas. Of course, appropriate, nothing too, but we have chats on generational health. We have like different booths, yoga, meditation, Zumba. And then we have different booths on different types of breast cancer issues. So people go by the booth and pick a topic and then they check little, like I was here, I was there, and they get a prize. We have conversations. So that's going to be in December as well. And then we're having an event in Chicago in November that will be focusing on clinical trials in Black women and breast cancer with a mega church. So we have that coming up. And then one of our core programs is our angel advocacy program. We trained about 300 Black women, at least that I'm aware of, as of 2 months ago, in 20 cities that have the highest breast cancer death rate for Black women. And when we train women, we don't just say we're going to go and do the work for you. We say, what do you want to do in your community to make a difference? Where do you see the impact that should be made? And then we give them tools to do the work and help them along. So there's events happening across the country in different cities that their angels are doing. So I know that we're doing 3 events, but there are events that I don't know because they're women that are doing them on their own in communities that are underserved. So I'm happy to send a list to you, Danielle, of what we're doing in communities of color that I'm not, because the cool thing is that these women are driving change on their own. It's not my job to say that I'm making this happen for you. We want to be able to hear what they're doing and lean into them and support them. So it's their ideas and it's their thoughts and it's their leadership. And that's one thing that Sheila taught me a few years ago, is like, I have an idea, let me do the idea myself, right? And do you think you help people? I want to help you, I'll do it for you. And it's like, well, no, I want to do it myself. And that's respect. And so when you respect people's voices and their cultures and their experiences, you say, okay, well, here's what's your idea and how can I help you? But you do it yourself and I'll support you. And we're doing that a lot. And so I know I'm rambling here, but happy to send a list of events. But the 3 ones are blanking out again, November 12th in Chicago, and then Pajama Glam in DC, and then San Antonio Breast, December 6th through the 10th. Then taking a break for a month to sleep, to travel, and to restore my heart, body, mind, and soul, and then start again in February.
Right. I remember when we were talking that we're the same with that, having a month to restore. So I'm definitely going to do that. December is going to be my month to regroup and to figure out my master plan for 2023. So I just want to thank you ladies again. I put your foundation link in the chat. Sheila, do you have your website? Do you want to drop your website here in the chat as well?
I can put it there. Let me see. Sorry.
Okay, yes, Heather, we did answer this question already. So, and this recording will be on YouTube.
So somebody asked, how can they get involved? So with Tiger Lily, we don't just engage women who have breast cancer, we engage women who have not had breast cancer, because I don't want you to have to go through what Sheila and I have to deal with, right? So even if you're a woman who has not had cancer, you can still contact Tiger Lily and get involved in our angel program, and we can train you on how to understand, know, be empowered, and send you the toolkits and the training modules and stuff. So please reach out whether or not you've had breast cancer, or even if you're a mother or a sister or a daughter. The ages are from 18 to 50. So reach out.
Oh, thank you, ladies, so much. I feel like I feel empowered and inspired. So thank you. I feel like some of the key points is to live your legacy and to, be loud, use your voice and just to show up for one another. Lean into, like Maymah said, lean into one another and love on one another too, because we have to love on one another, especially when we see each other. So if you're in the areas that Maymah said that she's doing her conferences, show up and be present and meet Sheila and Maymah, in person. And that's the way, a lot of times we think that we have to do a whole lot to make a difference. But sometimes it's just taking a step, just one step in the right direction, and even if you're one person, you can make a huge difference. So thank you everyone so much. I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you again, Andrika, Courtney, Sheila, Maymah for, sharing. And that's it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks
And
for having
Courtney,
us.
praying
God
for
bless you all.
God bless
Give her
you
a
too.
hug for
for your
us.
mom.
Yes,
Thank
a virtual hug. I'm giving a virtual.
Virtual hug.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
See
Okay.
you later.
Bye.